A snobby rich guy tried to kiss me at a party, so I reported him to the police after finding out he committed a hit and run. I'd been at the party with some friends, nursing a drink that tasted like someone had just squeezed a lemon into battery acid and left it on a windowsill to ferment. The house was packed, the air thick with the smell of cheap cologne and spilled beer. We'd just finished a round of who can embarrass themselves the most on the dance floor when I decided to take a break, scrolling through my phone in the kitchen. That's when Mason showed up. Mason was one of those people everyone at school knew. Tall, rich, painfully arrogant, with a dad who had his name plastered on more than a few buildings around town. He had this perpetual smirk like he knew he was untouchable. And the worst part was that he was hot. Like, so hot. More than one of my friends had ended up taking the walk of shame back from his place. I knew to avoid that hot creep, so when he slouched into the kitchen, already a couple of drinks too deep, I knew I wanted nothing to do with him. But Mason had other ideas. "Hey," he said, leaning against the counter. His eyes roamed over me in a way that made my skin crawl. "You're looking lonely. Want some company?" I told him I was fine, trying to keep it polite, but started to head out of the kitchen and back to my friends. He didn't get the hint. He closed the distance between us, that cocky smile still plastered on his stupid face. "Come on, don't be like that," he said, and I tried not to gag from the entire whiskey factory he'd apparently drunk. Then, just like that, he leaned in for a kiss I absolutely did not want. I stepped sideways, letting him stumble and catch himself against the counter, which resulted in him spilling his drink and basically throwing his phone on the counter. I swiped his phone for revenge, figuring that as my revenge, at least he'd wake up tomorrow and have to spend a couple $100 on a new phone. I ducked out of the kitchen and unlocked his phone, but it was already open to a group chat. One message in a chat said, "No one can know about what happened with the car. Payments were sent through Venmo. Keep your mouths shut." It didn't take a genius to figure out what that was about. A hit and run had made headlines a few weeks earlier. A car had smashed into a pedestrian and sped off, leaving this poor 15-year-old hospitalized. The case had gone cold, but now I had a sinking feeling that Mason knew something. I didn't just leave the party and go home to sleep it off, though. No, hot jerks that think they can just pay everybody off and get what they want even if people got hurt didn't deserve to get off easy. Instead, I spent the next several hours digging up every digital footprint I could find. Mason was a social media nightmare, constantly posting updates about his extravagant life. His friends were just as careless, and it didn't take long for me to find photos and comments that corroborated the messages I'd seen earlier. There were mentions of Mason's car and that wild night that no one was supposed to talk about. The more I found, the angrier I got. This wasn't just about Mason trying to kiss me. This was about someone who thought his money and name made him untouchable, even when people got hurt. I wasn't having it. First, I made sure the evidence was solid. Screenshots, saved photos, everything backed up. Then, I sent an anonymous tip to the police, complete with all the details they needed to reopen their investigation. Next, I contacted the dean's office at our university, letting them know one of their students might be involved in a criminal cover-up. And just for good measure, I forwarded the information to Mason's dad's company, knowing the last thing they'd want was a PR disaster. Within days, Mason's life started unraveling. The police came knocking, the university launched an inquiry, and his father's company released a statement condemning any behavior that puts others at risk. Mason went from golden boy to campus pariah overnight, and his dad's lawyers were working overtime to clean up the mess. A few months later my friends told me that Mason's dad had cut him off and that he had been suspended pending investigation. My friends asked me if I knew anything, but I just shrugged and sipped my coffee. I'm not usually vengeful, but even I have my limits, and Mason had crossed the line.